Okay, today's going to be a kind of short one because it's day 8 of logs, and by now you've learned a lot of stuff, and we kind of recycled back a little bit to pick up some log stuff that you knew before. So let me give you an example of something that you may or may not remember how to do. Do you remember if we had something like this where the starting value of something was 5,000, we have 5,000 widgets, and the number of widgets is declining because when we use them, they kind of get used up. And so let's say they're dropping by 20%. Do you remember those things? All right. It's a made up thing that's basically made to like replace something for real. So in other words, you could say that they're calculators and their calculators are breaking every year and 20% of them die and we got to replace them. But widget is kind of like a placeholder word. So anyway, back to, do you get that the same exact thing could be like this? 5,000 times, what is 1 minus 0.2? It's 0.8. Now, which one's better? Actually, both of them are okay, but I like this one better. Why do you think I like that one better? You can see the decay rate. Good. This thing's called the common ratio. This thing's called the decay rate. That thing is a decay rate. When you actually subtract them and you get 0.8, it's the common ratio. All right. Why are we talking about this? Weren't we in a unit about logs? Because if you've got an x in the exponent, it can be rewritten as a log. Let's say that I said I wanted my population of these are, let's say now it's not widgets, it's like antelope. Okay, and the antelope population has been going down. Okay, so do you get that I can't like put a number with it's bigger than 5,000 over here? But let's say that I put a number like 2,500. I want to know when the population of antelope will go from a starting value of 5,000 down to 2,500. Okay, that'll take some number of years. I don't know how many, so I put up to the power of x. Can you see how this could be a log because it's got an x in the exponent? All right, your first step is to get the clump alone. That's the clump. Everybody start by getting that clump alone. So how am I going to do that? Yes?
Divide 5,000.
Correct. Divide by 5,000 on both sides. And once this cancels, now I've got, what is 2,500 divided by 5,000? Good. It's 1/2. Quiet, please. 0.8 to the x. Now, this can be written as a log. I know it looks a little different than the normal ones, but it has an x in the exponent. So you go like this, log, and then you just get started. And then it sometimes helps to get started, and you go, what's the base? 0.8's the base. Log 0.8. And then you jump to the other side. You always go back and forth, right? Jump to the other side of 1/2. Jump back again, equals x. Why did that help you? Because now if you type that in on a calculator, right, it tells you the answer. Okay, what we just did there? We did a word problem that we changed into a log. And then, do you know how to do this? I personally, instead of 1/2, would use a 0.5. And I'd say log 0.5 divided by log 0.8. And it would give me my x. And it would tell me how many years it would take for my antelope population to drop like that. All right, I'm going to give you another one that's similar to that I actually want you to do yourself. See if you can handle this. Let's say there's 35 bunnies, and there's some male bunnies and some female bunnies. And so the population's going to grow until we add in a whole bunch of snakes. No, I'm just making that part up. But I did hear about a place in Texas that still has a snake wrangling festival. Hundreds and hundreds of pounds of snakes are caught each year. And it's just like they have this unlimited population of snakes. Every year they keep on, it's just huge numbers of snakes. You lived in Texas for a while. Did you have snakes in your area? And
have to go over to our neighbor with his snakes in the place.
you could catch Did you actually like catch them with with a stick or something, like hold them down, or what?
You put a stick on their neck and grab them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, what they were catching in this snake wrangling thing was rattlesnakes, and these are very dangerous. But I mean, they can hurt you really bad. But they would catch them, and then they take the venom out of them, and then they eat them. That was their big festival, the snake festival. You're right. You're right. But they apparently the venom is good for like doing tests because they're like always trying to figure out better vaccines or no, antidotes. I think that's the right name for it. So that if a little kid gets bit by a rattlesnake and they're like about to die, they can give them this anti-venom, which can fix their problems. And anyway, so they harvest the venom from them first. All right. So anyways, I'm just telling you a story that actually happened I just read about it the other day. Some town had their snake festival. But we're going to do bunnies because they're more fun to have them multiply. They're a little more fuzzy and a little scary. So my 35 bunnies to start with, the question is, if they're going to grow by, let's say, 30% growth, and this is per month, the question is, how long would it take before you had 200 bunnies? And I want to warn you, the way you set this up, you're going to probably set it up per month, so you can answer your question in months. Don't by accident think that the answer comes out automatically in years. It won't, unless you do something special. All right, so you got to use this thing where you go y equals a times, I usually like to do this, 1 minus the rate or 1 plus the rate. In this case, it's growing by 30%, right, to the x. That little formula there can then be turned into a log after you get the clump alone, and then you can solve it with your calculator. All right, I'm going to pause for a second while you give this one a try. Okay, big picture for the next few days here. Today's day 8. Tomorrow, Thursday, or Wednesday, will be day 9. Thursday will be the review, day 10, and we're having our test on Friday. All right, so what is this day 8 all about? In general, this is, well, if we look at our worksheet ahead of time here, I can kind of give you the big picture of what it's about. This is what your homework is about. It's about more graphing stuff. And we've already done graphing, so that's kind of just a review. But this is the real world problem. Whew, wow, serious sneeze. So how do you do real world problems? Exactly like the one I just showed you a second ago. Okay, you get them set up with that y equals thing, and y equals the start value, and this, by the way, can be the end value over here, and then you go 1 plus the rate to the x. But Mr. Server, that isn't even a log, but it's got an x in the exponent, which means as soon as you get this start value, divide by the start value on both sides. It's usually a number, but I can divide by a word start. Then cancel, cancel. Notice it's got the x in the exponent, and you can take this number as your number. You'll go log base this of this equals, loop around to that. So yes, these can be turned into logs. All right, but this very first one on your homework is actually just an equation. Look at that. If they give you the c, wait a minute, there's a t underneath the line there. There we go. If they give you the c, you stick it in there and you use a calculator and you figure it out. If they give you the t, you stick it in there and you use the calculator and you figure it out. Do you remember that graph both sides and see where they cross thing? Graph both sides and see where they cross is handy for this. Because if you have, let's say that they give you the t, and the t is like 25. Well, then you got y equals 25 on this side and y equals all that on the other side. You just can graph both sides and see where they cross. Pretty handy. Okay. Now, they are logs, and it's best to know how to solve them as logs. Back to the one I gave you before. By now, hopefully, you have set this up, and you have A was the start value of 35 bunnies. Raise your hand if you put the 35 in the right spot. Good. Did you notice that the 200 bunnies should go at the end like this? Okay. Then, do I know the rate? Yeah, I was given the rate. What did I say about the rate? So plus 0.3. Notice I moved the decimal 2 spots. You go 2 spots back from a percent. Then I've only got one x and it's in the exponent. Now I want to tell you it's true that graph both sides and see where they cross would have worked for this. I just keep saying it over and over and over because it's a powerful strategy. But, and it's a big but, you could have divided by 35, and then if they ask you what's the log you could write from this, graph both sides won't save you. If they ask you for what's the log for this, you have to be able to write a log. Well, then you say log, and then I need a base. Which of these numbers looks the most like a base? A, B, or C? B. So log base 1 plus 0.3 is 1.3. Then you always have to jump to the other side of the equation. Over here. Of 200 over 35, which I know would be probably some decimal you could use a calculator to get. 5.71 sounds like, thank you. And then it equals, and you bop over here, x. Cool, there it is. And if you know how to put that log in your calculator, which I personally would do log of this and then divide it by log of 1.3. Yes? Say that again? Oh, this is all monthly. Just hold on. It's all monthly, so that doesn't mean I have to divide by 12. It will give me an answer that's in, what? Months. Okay, do you get what I'm saying? It'll be a month answer. So when I'm done, does it say you have to give the answer in years? Okay, so if you said your answer was 16, if you just said 16, you get how that's kind of vague. 16 what? And since this problem's in months, if this answer, I don't know, what does this come out to? Somebody actually do it yet? 7 point something, 15 point something? So somebody try it again. Take log of that, and then divide it by log of 1.3. Okay, I got like 4 different answers. All right. Everybody start by doing this. What is 200 divided by 35? Use your calculator. 200 divided by 35. 6.64. Okay. Then do log of 6.64 divided by log of 1.3. Everybody, right now, try it again with your calculator. Okay, I asked a question. My question was, what is 200 divided by 35? And apparently 9 people told me it's 6.64. What's 200 divided by 35? Okay, good. Now take log of 5.714 and divide it by log of 1.3. All right, now I'm getting a lot of people saying this. You guys agree? Okay, now remember, that's not the number of teacups in China. It's not the number of snakes in, what was that town again? I was in Texas, though. It was like Plano, Texas, or something like that. Anyway, but it is the number of months that it would take these bunnies to overpopulate themselves up to 200 of them. Okay, so could I change that to years? Well, yeah, if it's 6 months, it's about what? Half a year. You could have divided by 12 if you wanted it in years. Now, got to be careful of that. Look at the directions in the problem. If it says, gives you all this stuff in months and then it wants the answer in years, you better be careful. Yes? Well, it depends. Do you want the answer in months or do you want the answer in years? If we did the problem in months, which is what we did, then this is months. If you use months in your work, then you're going to get months for your answer. Did I say I needed to have the answer in years? Okay, if I had, then you would have had to divide it by 12. But it all depends on how the question is asked. What about the x? I missed that. All right, so I'm fine with 6.64 months for an answer. I'd also would have been fine with, if you divided that by 12 and said about like a little more than a half of a year, that would have been a good answer too. Okay, all depends on what your units are. And if they give you months and they don't say anything else, you can assume they want the answer in months. Okay, so that is a typical problem for today. That's one of the tougher ones. And of course, you don't have to set this all up if they just tell you an equation. Like for instance, in that problem we were looking at a minute ago, let me see if I can find it again here. Here we go. Look at, they just give you an equation in this one too. They just give you an equation. These are the easy kind. It says, what's the average score after 6 months? Where do you think the 6 months goes in? The S or the T? My gut says T is time, but I better look. It says average score is S, and where T is the time in months. There we go. Okay. Do you get after 6 months? I'm going to put a 6 right in here for the T. And then you'll need to use your calculator to be able to do that. 90 minus log base 10 of 6 plus 1 to the 1 point, is that 1.5 or is that 15? 15. To the 15, okay. All right, now, you don't have to enter a base 10, your calculator will do that automatically? All right, it's only if you're putting in something like this, log base 3 of 12, that's when you have to be careful because that will not be base 10 automatically. You'll have to go log 12 divided by log 3. Okay? That's how you do a base change on logs. Okay, so if it just says log base 10 of 7, you can just say log 7. Your calculator will know that's base 10. But if it's this kind where it's not base 10, you go log 12 divided by log 3. All right, so that's a quick review of how to do word problems. And mainly, these are the top two are easy kinds where they just give you an equation and you stick numbers in. All right. What if you're solving for something like this? One of my favorite sayings, get the clump alone. This is the clump. How do I get that alone? By dividing by the 3. Okay. Then I can do a rewrite. So this will be 1/3 now. And now I can go 64 to the power of 1/3 is equal to x minus 6. And if I knew that, which I do, it's really easy from there. Notice rewriting is, you know that one? Yep, it's 4. And you can just calculate it to check it if you wanted to. Oh, it says without a calculator. But yeah, you should have 4 times 4 times 4 memorized at 64. So this one is 4. So this is a 4. And it's just 4 equals x minus 6. Add 6 to both sides. Easy peasy. All right, so rewriting is still crucial. And getting the clump alone is still crucial. Also, fraction exponents are still crucial. You got to learn how to make that flip so that the bases are the same. All right, that's all I have for you for today. And I decided that the assignment was a little bit long, and so I would let you skip D and E wherever they occur. Like, for instance, here's a D and here's an E. And there's another couple D's and E's earlier on the worksheet. All right, but I don't want you working on the worksheet quite yet. Your rest of your hour, I want you to do the Schoology quiz that says day 8 on it. Logs day 8 Schoology quiz. All right, and if you have questions during that quiz, you can come up and ask me for some help. But I'll give you only like a hint per Schoology quiz. I'm not going to help you with every question. Okay, so save your questions up till you have something you think is really worth asking. The quiz actually says on some problems calculators are allowed, some they aren't, so I trust you to just use them when you can and don't when you can't. All right, that's all I got for you for today. It's basically logs day 8.